Good morning again. Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And I want to react to a video I watched today by a young woman who was a student in an art teacher's class who was later arrested for some kind of sexual harassment. I'm not very familiar with the case, and I don't need to be because I wasn't in the courtroom when it was heard. And that leads me to my first point. There is something called confidentiality between a person who is accused and the courtroom, which requires, obviously, people to be knowledgeable, hence the courtroom's existence and the process by which justice runs its course, and people do their investigating and their eventual sentencing if necessary. So I want to just remind this young lady that there's something called the correctional department. There's something called corrections where people are given, a chance to be rehabilitated. And while she may have personal feelings about the case and its outcome, it's important to be careful to protect yourself by not slandering people or libeling them online, especially if the man has already paid his debt to society and has been rehabilitated. This is an actual thing that can happen. It's expected to happen. So I just want to recap what she said real quick, and I'll link her video in the description below. She mentioned that this particular teacher would sometimes put his hand on her shoulder. He would pull her artwork out of the garbage can that she had thrown away. And by itself, these things aren't necessarily questionable because these are ordinary things that go on in schools and workplaces. It's okay for people to make professional physical contact if it's respectful and it's not objectionable. And it sounds like it was not objectionable at the time. She didn't know exactly how to feel about it until the man was later arrested. And then based on what I saw in her video, she formed an opinion at that point, saying, well, it all makes sense now. He was a pedophile, obviously, because he was arrested. Okay, I just want to say that being arrested is not the same as a conviction. Unfortunately, our legal system has gotten away from this idea. There's something called the presumption of innocence that is necessary. It's required. Every citizen of the U.S. is given the presumption of innocence by law, which means that while you're awaiting trial, whether you're detained or not, until there's an actual conviction, it cannot be said that you are guilty. And I don't know if there was a conviction. Just getting arrested is not necessarily enough to say that somebody did something. There has to be an investigation, due process, and the subject of sexual abuse, especially in schools or in workplaces, is a very sensitive one that sometimes requires deep investigation, consideration of all aspects, all the people's wishes and the allegations, because it's obviously super easy to lie about things. It's super easy to leverage somebody's vulnerability, their exposure in those environments for personal gain, and this happens constantly. You see celebrities being accused of molestation or sexual abuse or sexual harassment all day, every single day, and it's just funny that the media is saturated with these accusations of rich people. Why? Maybe that has something to do with it. I'm just saying, maybe not every time, but many times, I'm quite sure, these people are targeted. Now, I understand that it actually happens. I do. And I'm sensitive to this young lady's experience. And I'm sorry that she was scared. It sounds like she was probably scared. And the spirit of her video is positive and supportive of people who are students in her same situation, things to look out for, things to be aware of. However, she goes as far as to name the person by name in her comments. And she also dubs her video with a song that mentions pedophilia and it's hostile and aggressive. I think she went too far. Even if the person in question was convicted, which I'm not sure they were, I don't know anything about it, but even if they were, unless she was a literal victim of it, she doesn't need to actually say anything about it, if you ask me. So, something to think about. Last thing I'll say in conclusion is, in the workplace, sometimes supervisors or coworkers will casually and professionally, give you a pat on the back. You maybe heard of getting a pat on the back. It's an actual thing, and it feels good when it's the spirit is right. And if the spirit is right. If it's making you uncomfortable, if they're going too far with it. Okay, so there's no clear symbolic boundary. You just happen to know if it's welcome or unwelcome. And this is why communication is important. This is why having centralized resources to some extent are important that you can avail to your defense if necessary. If somebody's harassing you and you know it, You can bring it up to somebody neutral and say, okay, please handle this. Communicate it for me. Make sure this person stops if that's what is needed. But not just every pat on the back is inappropriate. I want to be clear about that. There's something called professional human contact, and it's okay. It's allowed, it's common, and it's okay. So I hope all that makes sense. And I'm not trying to minimize this man's crimes, if there were any. Just, you get what you give. And this is mainly to protect you as a potential victim, as an almost victim. Be careful the accusations you throw out there, because those come full circle. They very quickly come full circle. And if you want a day in court, make sure you give it. That's all I'm saying. Reach out with questions or comments down below. Thank you.